Let's see. Am I in a good spot here?
All
Oh, I
right.
have to move a little forward. There you
There we
go.
go.
We're more even here.
All right.
I got my coffee right
You got
here.
the
You
Kai's
got
coffee.
yours.
Everybody got their
All right,
coffee
yeah.
ready. All right. Take a sip. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the Service Table Podcast, brought to you today by coffee Brother
And
Barry.
water.
And water. Coffee and water. All right. Today we are coming to you live from Dhammaland, from the actual meditation center. We're over here with Brother Barry and, of course, Trung, co-host Trung. My name is Lloyd. What's up, guys? We in effect today, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Beautiful day in the swamp.
All right, in the swamp.
Excited for this episode.
Yeah.
I think Barry's got us got some good topic for us today to work with.
All right, I'd like to see if I could take 5 minutes to introduce a topic of conversation,
Let's
which
do
is the correlation between the technique and current state of the art science.
Okay.
So I walked away from my first course with an understanding that this tradition teaches universal principles that are based on a scientific rigor.
Right.
It's not a religion. There's no dogma. There's no rituals, no gurus. And we're told that the technique was developed by Siddhartha Gautama, who claimed that he was enlightened because using this technique, he experienced the world as it is. And then he went into great detail about that, right? He talked about subatomic particles. He talked about wavelets of energy going in and out of existence. He talked about the universe as an energy field. And we're taught that we explore that field with the six senses.
Okay.
And we're given similes and metaphors to help us understand and gain insight and in a more intuitive way. We're told, to that point, we're told to imagine the impermanent nature of the universe as bubbles of energy rising up and passing
Well, not
away.
imagine, right?
No,
Experience.
let me go with it. No,
Okay, okay,
because
okay.
I think we are.
Okay.
I mean,
So you
he's
think
giving-
we're
he's gi-
imagining it
that's,
first?
That's what a metaphor is. He's giving
Okay.
you a metaphor of bubbles rising up and
describing,
passing
yeah.
away, right?
Okay.
Okay,
He's giving us a visual what it is like.
okay.
Yeah.
So let's take that. Now, so I'd like to show a 2-minute video that reflects. Let's see. No, we're just doing this impromptu here. See if this works. Can I?
Yeah, it should work. Sounds no glare. You just gotta
Pretty
face
glary.
it down a
Let me
little
go
bit.
full- let me do
It's
this.
so it's not gonna focus because the camera's on
It probably won't,
manual.
but I don't think it actually. Let's see if it works.
Yeah,
All right.
the mic's over here. Do we
we're-
need to move it real quick?
Oh, yeah, probably do. So we're going to push the envelope of our technology here and do this.
I want to tell you about what it means that we're not made of particles, we're made of fields. And I want to tell you what we can do with that and how we can best understand the universe around us. Okay. So here's the first thing. Take a box and take every single thing that exists out of that box. Take all the particles out the box, all the atoms out the box. What you're left with is a pure vacuum, and this is what the vacuum looks like. So what you're looking at here is a computer simulation using our best theory of physics. It's something called the Standard Model, which I'll introduce later. But it's a computer simulation of absolutely nothing. Okay? This is empty space. Literally empty space with nothing in it. This is the simplest thing you could possibly imagine in the universe. And you can see it's an interesting place to be, empty space. It's not dull and boring. What you're looking at here is that even when the particles are taken out, the field still exists. The field is there, but what's more, the field is governed by the rules of quantum mechanics. And there's a principle in quantum mechanics, which is called the Heisenberg uncertainty principle, which says you're not allowed to sit still. And the field has to obey this. So even when there's nothing else there, the field is constantly bubbling and fluctuating in what's, quite honestly, a very complicated way.
Okay,
Okay.
so that's one principle.
That's interesting. So the field is still moving even when there's nothing. There's nothing.
So we can talk about how that correlates to what Goenka's teaching, right? But I'd like to do one more. that helps me when I'm thinking about sankaras, when I'm trying to learn about how sankaras work. One of the metaphors that we're giving to help understand habit patterns of the mind are lines drawn in the sand and lines etched into stone.
Right. The water, the sand, and the stone.
The analogy being that the ones drawn in the sand are easily washed away, and the other ones are very difficult to remove.
Right.
Okay? So, according
So what you're talking about is just basically like our habit patterns. We have habits that are new habits.
Conditioned habits.
Yeah.
Right.
And the more conditioned they are, the more it's like a line etched in stone.
Right.
Okay.
And so, according to neuroscience, what we're talking about is the neural networks and neural patterns in our brain.
Okay.
And so, once we get, let me show another 2-minute video, and then we can talk about this. Okay?
Should we just do audio for it? That might be easier.
Well, no, you need the
Oh, you
you
need to
need
see
the
it?
video, unfortunately.
All right.
Okay.
So we have to go back to. I'm not queued up. I wonder if there's a way to pull it up on the. I know this is.
No, it's
crazy.
fine. Yeah, it's fine. It's gonna be hard to see just because it's not focusing. That's the only thing.
Well, it wasn't too bad. I mean, we'll get the
No, it
idea.
was good. It was
I
fine.
mean,
It was fine for
if
both.
this concept works, and maybe we can straighten it up, we can fine tune it and get it to work. Sorry, I got a little hiccup here.
This is the book you were talking about.
Yeah. Okay, 349. Sorry. This was queued up, and now it's not. This is exciting behind the scenes. Okay, I think I've got it. All right, let's see.
Together. Now, the neuroscientific definition of mind is the brain in action. Mind is the brain at work. Mind is what the brain does. And because we have
I know that's
100
weird.
billion
That's a little better.
neurons seamlessly pieced together, we can make the brain fire in different sequences, different patterns, and different combinations. And whenever we make the brain work differently, we're changing our mind. Now, there's a very, very unique shuffle that kind of goes on microscopically between different circuits in your brain. You're trying to fire this new thought called compassion. But remember, you fired and wired all these other circuits based on the last 10 years. So as you're beginning to fire this new thought, all these other thoughts are saying, you hate your mother-in-law, you don't want to go to that dinner, why don't you start tomorrow? This isn't a good time to do this. But if you persist with a certain amount of amplitude, and you put your attention behind that thought, sooner or later, that thought will be the strongest and loudest voice in your head. Now, the moment that becomes the loudest voice in your head, the brain has to seal that circuit more permanently. So when the action potential is firing down the neuron from the presynaptic cleft to the postsynaptic cleft, there's a glue that seals the circuit called neural growth factor, and it travels in the opposite direction. But there's only a certain amount of that neural growth factor to go around. So it starts to steal the glue from the neighboring circuits. And when that happens, there goes your memory of your mother-in-law hurting your feelings 10 years ago. There goes the thought that you hate her. There goes the impatience. There goes the intolerance. And the only signal now that's traveling to that neuron is called compassion. Now, every place where one neuron connects with another neuron is a memory. When this happens, you begin to biologically and neurologically prune away the old memory of the old self. And this is the science of changing your mind.
Okay, good enough. All right.
I know that guy.
That's Dr. D.
We can even edit that into the.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
So that is the science of changing minds.
Right.
Okay.
So so that's a neuron, and what he's saying is the neurons hold memories and thoughts, and that's what we're dealing with when we're dealing with sankaras,
Right.
right? And he's showing that the brain is actually releasing certain thoughts.
Yeah.
And we're taught that by focusing on those sensations, which what we're saying here is actual neurons in the brain, by focusing on that sensation and not reacting to it, then it will rise up and pass away, just like that animation was showing.
The bubbles.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay.
So I guess my question is that helpful to you guys? Because it's helpful to me. It's helpful to me in one respect, and I've talked to a bunch of teachers about this. It makes my practice more interesting.
Yeah. Well,
I have to keep bringing it back to the technique.
Let's simplify it a little bit,
Yeah.
right? Because essentially what we're talking about is the rising and passing away of sensation, emotion, and
Right.
thought, right? So within the practice, that is fundamental. Things are not permanent. They will come, they will go, rise and pass away. And what you're kind of explaining here is the more technical aspects of it. It's like,
What's actually coming? The world as it
Scientific.
is the point I'm trying to get to. What the Buddha was talking about,
Okay.
Gautama, was he experienced the world as it is. And I'm saying, and he has been referred to as the first quantum physicist.
Right.
They actually talk about that in lectures, that he is a scientist, that this is a scientific method. And I'm saying, if he was alive today, this is what he'd be talking about.
right.
Okay, I'm just trying to make that point.
Okay. No, I agree. So, I mean, I'm sure your guy there would love to hear himself referenced in the
Well, they've
compared
already
to-
talked about it.
compared to the Buddha. Yeah.
There's dozens of videos on that topic.
I mean, just
meditation
because,
and
yeah. But the thing is, just because you can understand this, as an intellectual thing, doesn't mean you're the Buddha.
no,
Like,
that's
yeah.
the,
Right,
that's the point. You have to experience it
Right.
Right.
for yourself.
Right.
They even have that example of what was his name, Professor Richards out at Berkeley.
Yeah.
He created the bubble machine, and he discovered that that's the nature of the universe. And they're saying, well, why isn't he the Buddha? Because he understands it intellectually. He hasn't experienced it himself.
Right.
So that's part of the point I'm trying to make.
So that's the element of the practice. That's what we're trying to do by sitting in meditation. is
Right.
Experience this changing nature of
right.
thought and feeling.
And for me in my practice, this has helped me. I mean, I think I was on the 20 day, and that first animation of the nature of the universe, of the quantum field, it felt like I just really tapped in for a moment. And because I had this analogy,
This
or
idea.
metaphor to work with, it felt like I slipped into a deeper level.
Nice. So I guess I'm just trying to figure out, like, because there's different approaches, right? If someone's new to the practice, like, how would this? They'd almost have to be coming from a scientific background.
That's part of it. We
Right.
all come to the cushion with our experiences and our minds. I mean, who we are, the totality. So a quantum physicist is going to experience the practice much differently than a kid who never went to any school, never dropped
Right.
out of grammar school.
Right.
It's definitely based on the person's own way of receiving things, right? Or like what helps them.
Yeah.
That's why there's many different kind of meditations to even become more concentrated, right?
Right.
So what you're saying is just that the scientific understanding helped you piece it together as you were meditating and going into this, let's say,
Right.
state.
And how it brings it back to us is because I've had this conversation at the table.
So
There are some people that are really interested in this, and we have
Yeah.
great conversations about it. So
I mean, it's like you said, the Buddha is the first quantum physicist. Like, this is literally the teaching. It's all science. It's not about some, maybe if you do this or if you worship this person, you'll get something. It's like you won't know until you test it out yourself
There
as
is-
your own scientist. Yeah.
yeah, there is a scientific rigor to this, and which he said from the beginning. I mean, it's in the sutras.
So okay. So but we're trying to take this back to the practice. So
Right.
let's talk about just Anapana.
Okay.
Right. So you're sitting there. You're observing your breath.
Mm-hmm.
All you're doing is in and out, observing the breath as it is.
Right.
In and out. How do I get from just that single point focus to where you guys are talking about?
Okay, let's go back to that first animation, and the fact that the Buddha talked about everything being vibrations, which is energy, right?
Sure.
And you can drill down on that forever. So I also get to the concept of you can drill down to there's only two things in the universe. There's awareness and energy and motion, because everything is energy, including thoughts and emotions. I mean, are you guys on board with that?
Yeah, for sure.
Okay.
We could be very energetic.
Everything's vibrations.
Right. Everything is vibrations.
Arising.
Which that, you get big brain PhDs using a supercomputer to come up with that animation that says this is our best guess of what's happening as to the nature of the universe itself.
Yeah, in a vacuum, which is interesting.
Right.
Yeah.
Which is what Gautama was describing. And then because he saw that and experienced it for himself, he claimed that he was enlightened. So it just informs me an awful lot because we are all walking the path individually towards the final goal. And we each of us have to define what our own concept is of the final goal. And if you are reaching enlightenment, you have to go back to the Buddha to inform you what enlightenment is, what nirvana is.
Yeah, I really like
But
that
the Buddha's pretty clear about that, though.
Okay, what is it?
What is enlightenment?
What is
He
it?
mentions this all the time. I mean,
Yeah.
the Noble Eightfold Path says once you become enlightened, it's the cessation of sensation. That's literally
Yeah.
enlightenment.
Yeah, I've heard that too.
Meaning,
Go ahead.
So what does that mean?
Yeah, what does
so
that
the
mean?
cessation of sensation means, well, there is several meanings, but the first meaning would, there's no more sensation left.
Yes.
Meaning there's no more mind or body connection.
Right.
Or there's a way to turn it off.
Right.
Or it means if you have sensation, you don't react anymore in a conditioned way.
See, I think that's more accurate.
Yeah,
'Cause,
so
like, 'cause I
everybody
don't
has
think
their own definition.
Yeah, I don't think it actually goes away. I think it just doesn't affect-
Sensation, yeah, it doesn't.
Yeah.
You don't have these you don't have these lines in the rock anymore. So you just can be yourself or be present and really be in that, as it is, versus reacting a little bit subtle sensation or desire or aversion because of you have still some lingering sankharas, whatever you want to call them. But
I don't know. I do like the idea of it being of experiencing the world, the universe. I like that idea too. Like to actually experience it.
yeah, the
I don't know
present
if that's
moment.
I don't know if that's actually enlightenment per se, but it's a depth for sure to be able to experience the rising and passing and
I'll say one more thing. Like it's really being present at all times. That's really what it means. And being present is being you without all the baggage that we have on us already because of how we've been conditioned by experiences, cultures, whatever you want to call them.
Do you think that that's also like Anapana with a single point of focus where you're
Single point of focus-
singularly present?
That's just concentration. That's just samadhi. Samadhi, yeah, you won't have you're quantumous when you're in concentration. So you won't react
Right.
because you're in this one pointed thing. But you can't live like that on a daily basis, just being on this one pointed thing, right? And that's why Vipassana is
But
the
then
part
how?
that
But then
comes-
how are you enlightened? If you
So-
you know what I mean?
so
Like,
sama-
like
so-
how do you exist in full awareness if you're not fully
Right.
concentrated on the now?
So samadhi is the step to get panya, right? So
Panya being wisdom.
So yeah, so wisdom is what actually clears the sankharas, let's say, the conditioned habits, because we talk and they talk about cutting off the root, right?
Yeah.
And that's what panya does.
The granite,
Yeah.
right?
Right. So once you cut off the root because of panya, meaning panya to me means understanding the ultimate truth at many different angles until you see all the angles. So we all know what impermanence is, but we're not enlightened because there's many different angles we haven't explored yet or understood yet.
Right.
So once it's just like love. Like when we're kids, love meant this thing. Then love meant this thing. And love is always expanding what it means. Same thing with impermanence,
I don't
right?
know. My definition's been the same since I was like
Well, then you
Of
yeah.
what? Your definition of what?
love. Since I was like a little kid, it's been the same definition.
You gonna share that with us?
It's more.
Whoa.
Well, hey,
This is
hey,
beyond
I don't
Dharma.
mean to get
Please,
personal.
Sensei. Share the
I mean, it's
knowledge.
just- it's
He's
just-
already knew since day 5, year 5.
Okay, so
Yeah.
I'll just tell you that like when I was young, I used to think that there's no way I wouldn't be able to receive love because I would love somebody else.
Mm-hmm.
Like if I love somebody, they would give me love back. As I got older, I recognized that was a little naive.
So it did change.
But no. Recognizing that it's naive does not mean that it changed. I still believe that fully, but I definitely think it's a little more.
But you still haven't defined love.
It's that
Yeah.
feeling. It's that feeling.
It's
if
the
I-
feeling.
It's that
If
I
you
love
know
you,
what
then
it-
you'll love me
It's the
back.
feeling,
That's
but
that
everybody's
feeling.
going to have a different feeling.
Absolutely.
So
Okay.
they say if
Doesn't
you
have-
actually know, you could describe it. But I don't know if that's true. But in terms of the Buddha, he would say you should be able to love everybody the same, whether it's your parents or a stranger or the
Unconditional.
enemy,
Unconditional.
unconditionally.
Unconditional
That would be like, let's say,
compassion.
the ultimate love. But I don't know if that's in our books, obviously, but theoretically, that could be a meaning of love.
unconditional love. He
That
talks
could
about
be a
it.
meaning of love, right? Like, I'm just saying.
I mean, that is unconditional, right? I love you, you love me back. It's whether or not I have a condition upon.
I mean,
the
is
that I
love
give.
only unconditional, or is it also
Oh,
conditional?
love is super conditional in
But-
practice.
But it shouldn't be, though,
In
right?
practice, yeah.
Theoretically.
You aspire to unconditional love.
Right.
But
So
some people
you
define
haven't
love.
gotten there yet, then, is what you're saying. So it could change.
I'm not trying to say that I know or anything
So-
like
but you're
that.
saying
I'm
that
just
love
trying to
could change,
I'm
then.
just saying all I said was my definition of love has not changed.
But it's
since I
possible
was
that
young.
could change. Because everything can change.
Yeah, all things are impermanent, right?
I just had to throw that in. I had to throw that in.
Some people define love as a connection. If you're connected to someone unconditionally, then you love them.
Right.
Does that work for
Yeah.
you?
Sure. I mean, okay, my favorite definition, external definition, is that love isn't two people looking at each other, it's two people looking in the same direction. That's a definition I like too.
That'd make a great Hallmark card.
So my definition of love now, at least for now, is loving myself. Because if I can't love myself, and like if I can't love
You gotta start
myself,
somewhere,
yeah.
right?
But also say if I don't know what love myself is, how do I love someone else?
Yeah.
How can I really love my parents?
But is it meta?
Like-
It's like meta. Like meta's just a
Yeah.
feeling.
Yeah.
It's a loving kindness, and you give that to yourself.
Yeah.
So that's
Yeah.
why I say it's just like this feeling of like,
Yeah.
you know, it's a vibe.
Love
It's
is
level.
love is a whole nother podcast. I feel like because like.
We got 50.
Yeah,
we got
yeah.
50 subjects going on.
Let's jump back to this.
It's all my fault.
Bubbles of love.
I
The
just-
rising and passing of
Yeah.
the impermanence of it.
the impermanent. That animation to me perfectly describes
I like
the
it, yeah.
impermanence that he was talking about.
Mm.
It's constantly wavelets, rising, passing away, bubbling,
Yeah.
bubbling, passing away. Right.
Yeah.
That's current. The best knowledge that we have.
Oh, I see what you're saying though. Like that's the sensation should look. Your sensation parallels that way that looked.
Okay, we're talking about Nibbana and reaching that state. If you were aware of that state that they're trying to duplicate in that animation, I would think that would be the definition of what he was talking about.
Yeah. So what you're saying is
Wow,
it's
okay.
good to have an idea what it might look like to visualize it as you're meditating.
It helps me, but
yeah.
all of these things, the technique itself is just pointing towards something that's undefinable and
Right.
saying, "Here, go that way, see what you find."
That kind of reminds me of that one meditation where they stare at the candle. That one
Yeah.
practice. It's
Yeah.
like you see the candle flickering, rising
Yeah.
and passing, changing shape.
Yeah.
Kind of reminds me of that.
It's similar to that, and that's what the Buddha did. He was when he taught his monks. There's that story where he just held up an orchid for 30 monks and said, "Just observe this." And he was trying to impart something to them, and he said there was only one monk that got it. He's got all these stories, metaphors, and similes, and that's what I'm saying. In this current day, can we use this technology
To define.
as to use
I think it can be helpful for sure, and I think this is also something they call like the what's it called the Buddha. Like everybody has Buddha nature. So if you really understand that we all have it in us, like we all could be enlightened, we all have Buddha nature in us, then it might help you be like, oh yeah, actually, it's possible for me to become enlightened. Like it gives you this one more little, like it's almost like helping you to become this thing because you believe that you have it in you.
Well, I think we all have awareness.
Yeah.
I mean, that's
Yeah,
right.
Yeah. I don't know. I was just thinking
Right
about this.
consciousness,
but
which is awareness.
Right awareness is the different one, right?
Yeah.
I don't know. So I'm gonna take a little bit Christian too.
Oh boy.
Because you're talking about Buddha nature, so so there's like that whole be like Christ, or it's the same thing. Buddha nature, Christ nature, and then that's the difference between the individual.
Unconditional compassion and love.
Yeah,
Right.
right. It's
The
same thing.
embodiment, you mean, of
Those
the
things.
yeah.
It's the same thing essentially.
Well, Buddha nature is a little bit more about that you have enlightenment in you, like.
Yeah,
Like,
so
is
is
it-
Christianity. It's
Okay,
within
that's what you're
you.
saying.
It's just literally
Like
the same.
as in like it's something you already have in you. Like you don't have to look for it. It's there. You just don't let it out. That kind of idea of Buddha nature.
Yeah, if you're pure awareness, you have awareness,
Yeah, yeah.
and it's contaminated, let's say. And if you purify
Right,
it,
right.
then
Yeah. No, that's what I exactly mean. Yeah. But some people don't think they have it. They think they have to keep purifying, and then maybe it'll happen. But it's already here. Like you have it right now.
well, I'd say they were ignorant in the purest sense of the word. We are being taught about the mind, about subconscious, consciousness, the nature of thought. I mean, just sitting a 10-day, you learn so much.
Yeah.
And I guess I just mean it in a way of it's like a limiting belief for some people. Like that's what I at least hear from others. They're like, oh, I can't become enlightened. Like, it's gonna take me 100 more lifetimes or whatever, right? Like, and it's like,
I don't have time for this.
but you know,
Yeah.
if you say that, then you won't. Like, this is kind of
Yeah, I always feel like enlightenment is just a choice. Like if you just
Yes.
decided to just be,
It is a choice because we
yeah.
all have to choose the final goal,
Right.
right? And
It's a
for some
pretty
people,
strong
it's
choice.
just I want to stop.
Yeah.
I want to stop yelling at people in traffic. That's my final goal. If that happens, that's fine. Other people just know I want the whole enchilada. I want enlightenment. I want to get, and I want it now.
Right.
I mean, I don't believe in past lives and rebirth. I mean, I just don't have that as part of my my experience. It's not part of my belief system. So
I go back and forth on it because moment to moment, right? Like
Yeah.
you could literally, if you take that reincarnation thing really literally, you could be reincarnating constantly.
I can try to explain this one.
Just go ahead. But scientifically though, right? Like
All right.
like the
Yeah,
body's
yeah.
rising and passing.
So
cells
if
are dying.
we understand that everything's impermanent, right?
Yeah.
If this is
Okay.
the true ultimate truth, right? Then that the Mother Earth is even impermanent, right? We just don't know it because time is irrelevant.
well, we
I
know
mean,
that it's impermanent.
So then we know we're impermanent, and
Yeah.
the way they describe why we're rebirthing is because we still have desire and aversion, meaning we're still craving something in this field of energy, right? So if you're still in the same wavelength, let's say just scientifically, and I don't know if this is true, but let's say you're still in the same wavelength of wanting this thing, right? Because vibrations are a thing. Like if you're high vibration, you're not in the same level as, let's say, people in the low. Like nature is in a different vibration, right? So of course, if
Opposite
you
heaven and hell.
if you have a certain vibration, you're gonna go there. When you're dying and you have this really low vibration, where do you think you're gonna go? I don't know, but I'm just saying.
Yeah, but what's going?
But that's the thing. It's everything's arising past.
Okay, okay.
No,
So,
but-
let me
but
jump
what
in.
is it
Okay,
that's
go
Okay,
ahead.
so energy science, right? Energy can neither be created nor destroyed,
Right.
only change shape.
Yeah.
Right, so there's one
Yeah.
right off
One.
rip. Like
Yeah.
you
Right,
can't
scientific.
die. You
Right.
can only change shape.
Yeah.
Right, there's one.
There's one. Yep.
Second would be like moment to moment. So, and then the third is just there's hardly any religion or spiritual practice that does not accept some kind of rebirth. So even in Christianity, you die, you go
It's
to
not
heaven or hell.
rebirth, really. It's just
not
one
rebirth.
leaving and then
Yeah.
sitting
It's
at
one
the
time thing.
Yeah, but
depending on
essentially
you
it's a rebirth.
interpret
It's
the
a
Bible.
heaven.
It's
you know.
not a rebirth.
You leave
It's
here
not
and
a-
you
it's
sit
not a-
at the foot of
Yeah.
Christ.
It's not a
or hell.
or
But,
hell, right? But it's still
Rebirth means it happens over and over.
Yeah,
Where-
so there's a
yeah.
distinction. I just want
Okay,
to
Unless you become
sure,
enlightened.
sure.
Unless you become
There's a
enlightened.
difference between
right?
reincarnation and Christianity.
Yeah.
The
Like
Christian
Webster-
belief
but
that
there's,
Webster-
but
you
all
die
I'm-
and
all-
go to heaven.
All I'm saying is there's an incarnation after life.
Yeah.
There's an
Okay.
afterlife, whether that's
Right.
another life or
Yeah.
an afterlife. There is an incarnation after this existence in most spiritual traditions.
It's easier to get people to join your group if you can convince them that you go to.
Yeah, that you can't.
This is
die.
terrible, but there's something better.
Yeah. You are immortal. Welcome to the club.
Yeah.
Yeah, life after life, man.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I don't know. I think Buddhism is. I actually don't like any isms, so I don't claim Buddhism.
No, I'm not a Buddhist.
Yeah, I don't claim that
I'm a Buddhist on paper.
on paper.
That's what you.
I've been Buddhist on paper since I was a kid.
Oh, is it tax write off or something?
No,
your
it's
parents-
it's
your
just
parents
my
Buddhist?
parents are Buddhist.
Okay. There you
So
go.
I mean, I don't go to the temple
Yeah.
like every week or something,
Yeah.
but I'm Buddhist. And when I fill out my forms, I put
Yeah.
down Buddhist. Yeah,
Yeah, I mean, I was raised
it's
Catholic.
it's just a label, guys.
Yeah,
In
yeah.
reality, it's just another label. Just like if I say, "Oh, I'm vegetarian,"
Yeah.
like it's just a label.
I mean, it's a tax write. It's a.
Oh,
it's
is it?
Yeah, like determining.
You're-
It has implications.
Okay.
It could have.
I didn't know that because I ain't getting any tax breaks from that.
Yeah, do tax
I'm gonna have to
return.
check into that. May,
We're all gonna be Buddhist soon.
exactly. Do I get a tax write-off for atheists?
Yeah.
I don't
I
think,
think so. I think that's a belief structure. The Church of Atheism. You gotta
Yeah.
Pastor Barry
I
Church.
mean,
of
you're gonna have to donate some money to get a tax write-off, I think.
Yeah.
And Hitchens is my god, I guess.
I kind of want to talk about because we were talking about Anapana, right?
Yeah,
And then
yeah.
you were talking about how this helps you relate to the experience,
It's a
right?
metaphor, it's certainly to help you
So I know
gain insight.
So I know everybody who meditates, we all have our own explanation of what it feels like, right?
Mhm.
So maybe we can go through it and just just talk about our own little explanation of what it feels like when we meditate and these things arising, passing?
Set it off. Set it off.
Me?
Yeah.
Yeah, you
Oh
started.
man, I really wanted Barry to set it
Topic.
off. Okay, I mean,
He said, "Yo, go ahead, Barry. Go ahead. Who's going first?"
All right, so we're going to talk about
Barry's been ready for this.
we're going to talk about using Anapana as
Anapana,
a meditation technique. So,
And the sensation or what it feels like.
to bring out bubbles.
Explain it to us. Yeah.
well, let's start with, for the first 3 days of a 10-day, we're taught to use Anapana, right? And what the goal is to learn how to focus our minds, to watch our thoughts, to learn, which enables you to learn about the nature of your mind and the nature of thought. And for many people, it's the first time they get to sit and experience what their mind is doing. And the first time that you try to watch your thoughts and focus on your breath and see how quickly you lose that focus. I mean, for most people, it's like 3 seconds.
Right.
You know, say, okay, watch your breath, boom, you're gone. Okay, bring it back. And just that process of learning to bring your awareness back with no other thoughts, without feeling guilty or frustrated, or just being able to, oh, I'm back, oh, I'm back, oh, I'm back. That's a great skill. And I find that all of these little techniques become subconscious, become part of your behavior, and you no longer have to think about it. So your mind is getting more focused and calmer and quieter as you try and focus on your breath. I mean, it's a learning technique, right?
No, I agree.
You learn so much just by trying to focus on your breath.
And the more you practice, the better you understand it.
Right,
Yeah.
right. And then you can take that skill, and on the 4th day, when you're taught Vipassana, you take that skill and start moving it all around your body. I think the course is designed brilliantly to teach this technique.
Step by step.
And you can spend a lifetime mastering it, but you get a crash course that you have so much. You learn so much in those 10 days, and it's laid out perfectly, I thought.
No, I like how you brought up that the mind goes away and that you have to, or the mind gets distracted and then you have to come back and forgive yourself. We always kind of.
But that's just something that gets in the way. You know,
Right.
I mean, you don't want to forgive yourself. You just went, oh, I'm back. I'm gone. I'm back. I'm gone. I'm back, until it becomes subconscious, and there are no thoughts involved.
Right.
It's just like awareness, 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 awareness.
Yeah. This is my breath. This is my mind.
Yeah. Become the breath, grasshopper.
I'm glad I didn't start first. But now I know what to say on this. So for me, the first Anapana for me is, it's samadhi, right? Like it's to create this concentration in this area of your awareness. And for me, it's a big thing of surrender. Like for me, it's all surrender. It's all surrender in general for me, because as I surrender, that's also the monkey mind surrendering, the ego surrendering, all the things that I think I am and what I want or don't want is surrendering to this observation or this awareness of, this one-pointedness, right?
Yeah.
So as I get this awareness, my mind is still working. So for me, the mind is being very observant. It's like, oh, I feel the breath this way. Oh, I feel it, whatever. I notice it coming in now. Oh, it's long or short, whatever, right? All the different things. But then the monkey mind, or whatever you want to call it, gets in the back seat. And that's when I can start really feeling this natural breath. Because usually I can't, because I'm conditioned to be doing other things and not pay attention to my body working on its own. So for me, that's more like my mind's never paused. My actual awareness, right? It's actually very active. It's very like I could see the detail right now on my breath. And this other thing that's usually thinking about, oh, what I gotta do later or whatever. It's just sitting in the back there, like strapped in. Like I don't know what to do. I'm just sitting here and I'm in the back seat and I'm not needed, And that's when something usually comes through for me in the sense of samadhi. Yeah. So that's how I would explain it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah, I think for me it's a gateway. It starts the other processes. But you had me thinking about how, like you were talking about the other part of your mind that's just laid back.
Yeah.
There's like some people are visual, some people are tactile, some people are audio, right? So I remember in my first sit in 29 Palms, to do Anapana, I had to hum to myself to turn off the other audio part. So not like just not audibly humming, but like in my mind it was like or just like
I heard humming turns off your mind actually.
yeah, like just, I would just hum.
The act
There's
of
a reason
humming.
they own.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
I mean, I don't do it, but yeah.
yeah, so that was it. But and then something Barry was talking about was the habit that comes from it. So I definitely like how Anapana brings out the habit of returning to awareness. It really does. And there's sometimes I'll go into Banga, like certain things like areas where I used to get upset or things would happen now trigger meditative states, right? So before where it would be like, oh, I'm getting upset at this person for this type of conversation. Now I actually I'll either feel my breath or like my awareness will come back to my breath in times when I'm upset.
You have
And
a new
that's
habit pattern.
new habit pattern of just coming to awareness whenever I'm.
When sensations arise, you have a new habit pattern that arises.
Okay.
with it,
Let me take this back to the second animation, the neurological pathways of the brain. So all of those thoughts are actually firing neurological pathways, right? And as you watch your brain and you recognize that pathway and choose not to take that pathway, it starts to deteriorate.
Sure.
And any new things that you're learning create new pathways. So
So observing those sensations has created a pathway of
right.
It's rearranging them.
And it's firing in different areas of the brain. Like your frontal cortex is taking care of different thought patterns and it has a different function to your older brain, like your primal brain, which is more in the subconscious, may be the definition of subconscious, that part of the brain.
Survival.
Yeah. And a lot of fear and other things get triggered here. And I have found that I can now feel those areas firing.
Oh, same here.
When I'm
Wow, that's deep.
actually feel that area of my
Things are
mind.
happening. I don't know what's happening, but
Yeah.
there's something happening
Yeah.
all over. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah,
And for
yeah.
me, and again, it's just a technique that if I reach Nibbana, will go away. This is a ladder, and when I get to the top, I throw the ladder away, and you're just, in that state, free of any thought, needing no techniques, right?
Interesting.
But-
Burn that bridge.
Because you're just being.
Yeah.
There's nothing to it.
Right.
We're just it's so simple. We just need to be ourselves, literally.
Yeah.
But we can't be ourselves because we have all this whatever you want to call it. That's why they call it the unlearning, the unfolding of this thing.
All those little neurons releasing and rising and passing away.
Yeah, and what's interesting is you said the unfolding, but the word yoga means to link back, right? So it's the same thing, like
To
link
yoke, yeah.
Yeah.
That's one.
Yeah.
So we're all enlightened here, just if anyone's
Oh, yeah.
wondering. We just chose not to be enlightened yet.
I just walk there because I don't want to freak people out. Most of the time around the house, I'm
you
just
might be
floating,
levitating, around.
We ought to be able to levitate. That's next.
Yeah, they used to teach that. They used to say that when TM, Transcendental Meditation, that you practice enough, they'll teach you to float. And you get all these pictures of videos of people hopping off the ground.
That's a great skill to have, I guess.
I like it. Even hopping's a cool
It's a great
skill,
party
you know.
trick. Hey guys, watch. I'm gonna float real quick.
Listen, my Superman vibes.
Don't be amazed, boy.
Yeah.
What's
okay.
that?
happened?
Oh, what do we got?
I don't
We
know.
ran out of time.
No, we didn't. Did we?
Yeah, it's just prompting to see if we're still in the call.
We're still on the
We're
call.
still here.
Are you still here?
We're still here.
No, I like this discussion. It's good. People, and it's good to hear different versions of this experience of Anapana, because Anapana is most common meditation technique probably in the world, right? Literally,
and across disciplines. It's in other cross spiritual disciplines.
the one thing I did notice though, not all of them tell you to use the natural breath. I think that's one of the,
As opposed to
because I've done Anapana before, like just because I saw it on an app.
Sure.
But it never said use your natural breath, and that's really what really
As
what did
opposed
it
to
for
what,
me.
though?
Just
like four square breathing.
yeah,
like
it just
count
it
for
just
Oh,
four.
yeah.
or counting or
Or in.
yeah.
But I do think there's benefit to that technique. I
Oh.
mean, there's some science behind that. Breathing in.
Yeah,
breathing out.
the pranayama, right? The manipulation of the breath definitely has its own thing for sure. especially when you talk about like athletes and sports.
Well, that's for
like,
waking up and getting more energy. Yeah, Kundalini yoga has all those practices of like,
yeah.
all those things so you get energized, like dragon breath or lion's breath. I mean, they have it. I've done them some, like.
Yeah, I like the fire one where you like.
Or you put I think you put the tongue on the roof of your mouth and you breathe. I mean, there's all kinds of stuff.
Yeah.
But in this technique, it's really to surrender to, hey, what happens if I don't try to do all this special stuff?
Just observe
and see what happens. Because that's actually the magic. We think we need all this extra stuff, like coffee for caffeine. We don't need anything.
Oh, I know.
Well, you're not really being aware if you're manipulating, right?
Yeah.
If you're manipulating the breath, you're not aware of it as it is. You're
Right.
just.
And that's the teaching as it is. That's why we don't need anything else theoretically. We can just experience it as it is and really get what that is, what that means. Right?
Well, there's that spectrum. The child that's told, watch your breath, become enlightened. And the other child that goes to the monastery and studies their entire life, all the sutras, learns Pali and all that stuff, but they both can reach the bottom.
Yeah.
Right?
For sure.
I mean, it's just, like we all say, it's a choice. It's really when you really understand the Dhamma. And you can understand, like Ananda, right? He understood the Dhamma intellectually, like
That's Buddha's cousin or his nephew?
his cousin, but his caretaker, his side, like his
Yeah,
secretary,
his right
kind of
hand,
thing,
the right hand of the Buddha, Ananda.
But he had heard all the discourses, but he wasn't an arahant. Like he was only a sotapanna, right?
Until he gave it up, and then
yeah.
at the last minute he became enlightened, right?
So that's that's pretty much what it's saying. Like you could have all the knowledge, and when you're ready to let it all go, like that surrender in a sense, to be enlightened, and you have time to meditate and practice. Because that's what he did on the last day before he could join the 500. Because
the 500.
So then, boom, there he was. And I mean, I swear, in these Buddhist stories, it's like everybody's turning to arahant, right? Like literally, this guy who was
That's
like
kind of the point.
Yeah, he's like he's telling you anybody.
Like the
could
guy
be.
who killed 1,000 people and then he became enlightened.
Or like this little guy who just comes up and then he just explains to him the Dhamma, and then he's like, boom, oh, I'm here. I'm arahant now. It's like, whoa. Like, is it that easy, guys?
He's ready.
I mean,
maybe we're doing something wrong.
I imagine in the time and being aware, like near the Buddha or someone who has that, I think it would be possible because that's so much. You could feel the vibes already. Imagine the vibes of like this is.
I mean, I tried to give you those vibes, but you didn't want them.
I don't know if you give me the right vibe.
That's another topic that I think would be good to tackle someday, and it's parmis. He talks about that a lot. It's like all of us. One way to look at it, according to Goenka and Gautama, that all of us are here because of past parmi. Right. I mean, that's like a major theme.
And parmis are
good things that you've done in the past. It's like
yeah.
karma brought you here, but then you have to believe in reincarnation and pre-birth. And,
right.
Not pre-birth.
Past pre-birth. I guess
pre-birth.
It is kind of pre-birth.
Pre-birth.
Past life, you mean?
That's
past
another
life,
topic.
pre-birth.
Yeah.
Pre-birth.
But that whole parmi thing is interesting.
Yeah.
But being here on the center, it really feels like it's true because people just show up. I mean, it happens to me. It's like, I don't know why I'm here. I don't know what's going on, but I'm definitely here. And people show up every course. It's like, well, I don't know what I'm doing here, but I guess this is what I'm doing. And it feels like, well, I could be parmi. That's something.
There's some determination
here.
to come, So there's many parmis.
But it's a total fluke. I mean, you have to hear about it and be drawn to it. You have to go on the website. You have to sign up a course. You have to actually get in the course. You have to get your butt here. You have to actually sit the full 10 day because a lot of people leave.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know if a lot of people leave, but
that's a fair amount. I mean, it's about. I mean, 5 people left the last course.
Yeah.
That's a lot.
Yeah, but out of
a lot of courses, there are courses where no one leaves, but.
Most of the time, someone leaves.
Yeah, it's always like 1 or 2 for sure.
I've never been on a course where no one left, from what I know.
Yeah.
But I've heard about it. So, I'm not just saying you.
It's an urban myth.
Yeah, the course where everyone's.
It's rigorous.
Yeah, but it's good though, and it's not as I find that it's not as hard as it sounds, right? Like
for you.
No, generally speaking, like even the first one wasn't. You think
I have so many friends that are like A-type personalities. They cannot get their minds around what's happening here. It's
really?
like, what? For how long? What kind of music? No music? You can't talk at all?
Yeah.
It's like, you can see their minds start to go.
That's probably just your friends, Barry.
I know.
Maybe.
We be hanging
Still
out.
get
with
it.
them.
That's my Parmy group.
No. Most people, when they just hear 10 days, they like doing this. They rather go on vacation for 10 days, right?
Silence,
Yeah.
though.
Yeah.
Sitting in a room with 100
Yeah,
other
yeah.
people in silence.
Nobody wants to work on themselves. Let's be real.
Well,
like
that's not
the
right.
general people, they don't even know that they need to work on themselves,
Yeah.
right?
Right. That's like
So-
nobody reads anymore.
Yeah.
Either. Like most people don't read.
But some people just hear about it. I mean, I've talked to a lot of people. It's like, oh, I heard somebody mention it, and I asked them what it was, and then I got here somehow. You know?
That's true.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
because they
heard
were
all
drawn
kinds
to
of
it. They were
stories.
ready to hear it.
yeah.
That is Parmy.
Yeah, I mean, the Buddha says usually people have to have some kind of life experience that they suffer a lot, like maybe something like a divorce or a burnout or something. Usually, it's pretty deep, or maybe not, right? But
Misery.
usually, it's this deep misery where they're like, "This can't be all to it. There's
Yeah.
got to be more." And usually, if they hear something that could open up some,
Yeah, but that misery doesn't have to come in this lifetime, right? That's where we get into the past lives. It could have
Misery is
been
a
like,
great topic. I'd love to just.
Dude, I could go off on
the
suffering.
dukkha. Yeah.
I can go off on that too. I like that. Too.
All right, let's do that on the next one then.
And I
Do
do
How about
misery
that?
next.
Yeah.
Suffering.
Tune in next week when we'll be talking
Yeah,
about
yeah.
misery.
It's all misery, suffering, baby.
Yeah.
Gotta love it. I like my suffering, man. I'm all.
You like your
I
suffering.
love suffering.
See, this is
Oh, I
this is
bet
why I
we
try
could
to
bring
tell
some
them
suffering that
otherwise.
you don't
Yeah, I'm a
like.
fan of suffering. Oh yeah.
Let's talk about your misery and how much you like it.
I just I guess I.
Lloyd scares me more every day.
I love it.
Don't suck me into your suffering,
Oh,
man.
come on, man. The Duke is here for you, baby.
I'm trying to get out of suffering over
Yeah,
here. This
really.
guy, like I think Barry's on the same page as me.
No, you gotta embrace
Over here,
it,
it's like,
man.
hey, give me more suffering. I love it.
Yeah, man.
You know, living in the
absolutely.
bubble
That's-
here, it's kind of misery free in a lot of ways. Well, that's another subject.
Yeah, it's a
but
different
once
kind
you
of
go
misery.
back out into the world, it's like, oh man, oh you guys are really miserable. I think I'll go back to the center for
Yeah.
a minute.
But I like the suffering because the suffering sharpens us and makes us stronger and brings us closer to.
You definitely gotta say that.
Or it kills you.
You definitely gotta say that, right?
Or it
mean-
kills you. And you can go, oh, man.
It brings
Like
us
you need to go
closer.
sit a attending course right now.
No, it brings us
No,
closer.
we need
I
a,
do
we need a
to
whole
that.
hour to drill down on that.
Dukkha, I mean, that's one of the three, right? So yeah, it's
It's the first thing you have to accept, I think.
Yeah,
And then we
yeah.
said you have to accept
That's what
that
I
life
mean.
is misery and there's a way out.
Yeah.
yeah, that's
Exactly.
what I'm saying. The Buddha
That
said you
requires
gotta
it.
see
Its
this
own
deep
topic,
misery.
yeah.
Yeah.
So I used to get I had to sit, or maybe I've told you guys this before, but I've had to sit where I was really like just hot and like just mad at Siddhartha for basically explaining that there is suffering and how to get out of it. He gives you this pragmatic, like you do this,
It's so
you do that,
simple.
You were,
and you are free of suffering.
you were angry at him?
I was
love this.
I was so hot because it's like, dude, like I get it. Like all I gotta do is sit here, choose enlightenment, and I can get free. I can get out of here, right?
Yeah.
No problem. But why am I here to begin with? Like he never answers the why.
Parmy.
No, but why?
Parmy.
Okay,
That's what you hear.
Parmy tells you, okay, why I'm at this level.
I can
right?
tell you why.
But it does,
Why
but
you
it-
showed
but it
up.
doesn't tell
Why
you,
you're
but
on
it-
the cushion.
But
yeah.
it doesn't tell you why this exists at all.
I can
Right?
tell you why.
Why is there existence? Why did, you can tell you that he's like,
I
he's
mean-
like I know why there's existence.
I
Like,
mean-
Why is there existence?
why is there existence? Why do we go through these levels
It's-
of parmies and everything? And anyway, why? There
After
is no
taking
why.
4 60-day courses, they tell you that.
They tell you why. They tell you the why after 4.
I mean, that's the way to con. That's the way to
The
con
theory
him into
goes
it.
with the experience.
This is one way to
Really?
con him into it. But
Yeah,
but
I mean,
if you think about
There's
it
a
though,
theory. It's turtles all the way down.
yeah. But So if you think
Oh,
about
yeah,
it, right, like everything's impermanent, right? Like everything's just an event happening. Like this is just an event that's passing, right?
Right.
Every not even millisecond, beyond seconds, right?
Right.
Like it's just an event happening, right? And this is the only reason why we're here is because we're perceiving it with our senses, right? If we didn't have any senses, there would not be any of this. So if you think about it, if there's no, in the sense of a body, in this sense, right? If we
Yeah.
had no body, the mind wouldn't be able to translate anything to anything else. There's no eyes, you can't see each other. There's no, like literally there would be nothing, even if you just had a mind.
Which is the definition of Nibbana.
There you go.
So we come.
That's one of the definitions. I mean, that's the main definition of Nibbana. But how to experience it might mean different ways, right? Like,
Pure awareness. No body, no thoughts, no feelings, no sensations.
yeah, knowing that the body is not you, maybe that's part of maybe.
So
the
what gets
Yeah, but I've
reincarnated?
I've
is
had
the
like no
question.
eye experiences though.
the,
That's
the,
not-
the reincarnation is just the energy that you are.
Just the
Yeah,
vibration.
the vibration that you are is moving on. That's all it is. And of course, it seems like
But that's not you,
Yeah.
brother. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
That's not
yeah,
who's
yeah.
sitting here now.
yeah.
right.
I mean, the vibration is also changing, right? Because that's how we're changing our vibration as we
Hopefully.
understand sensations better.
doing
right?
that.
Ken used to say that the vibes mix, right? Like you leave this body and then you get a little piece of somebody else, and you get a little piece of somebody else, and you become like this.
Yeah, that's one theory.
This.
I mean, and again, the Buddha says you don't need to think about the future too much or the past. If you focus on the present,
But
it all
why?
makes sense. Because that's all you have is the present. Everything's an
Yeah.
event.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah,
Yeah,
there's
he,
no
gi- he
point.
gives you the formula. Like, you want to be free, you want to chill, like,
Yeah,
just
yeah.
do this, focus on the now, be
Well-
aware, boom.
Well,
you're out.
when you do, you'll find out the answer why. Probably.
There is no why, man. There is no why.
Well,
That's the
look at
conclusion.
that.
Maybe the why's not important.
It's not. It's definitely not. The why. That's the other reason they don't tell you, is because it's not important. If you really just want to stop
Yeah.
suffering,
Kind of like
you don't need to know. You just need to stop.
Exactly.
yeah.
Yeah.
This-
Right, that's the
actually
kid
the truth.
who's just
yeah.
who was told breathe it, become enlightened.
Because
That's all you have to do.
for example, usually therapy is about finding the why, right? Like let's say example.
Yeah.
But here we don't find the why. We just are present with sensation and understanding the impermanence of the
Well,
sensation.
that's another
right?
topic,
I
how
think
the
that's all right.
technique
Let me
applies
stop.
to-
Yeah, let me stop.
To
Gestalt
therapy. No, but
therapy.
that's good though.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to.
No, you're good.
Yeah, yeah.
So yeah, it's many levels. And,
There is no why. Anyway, I just remember being super hot about it, just on the cushion, like, why am I doing this?
Oh, I did that when I was 5 years old. I mean, I was so pissed at everything.
At 5 years
being an
old, you
only
were
child.
an angry little
I told you,
kid.
I told you that
Angry
story.
little kid,
Didn't I
man.
tell you that story?
no.
I don't know.
It's family law. I walked into the living room. My mother and father were there, and I said, "There's been a mistake. I'm not supposed to be here. It's not my fault. This whole thing is crazy." And I turned around. I walked out.
Wow.
And
Yeah.
my father went, and that's pretty much been my attitude my whole life. This
Wow.
is crazy.
Wow.
I wasn't. I feel
If
like
you're not supposed to be here, you better work a little harder.
That part of me was like, come on back.
well, I know I'm not going to be here sooner than later.
Yeah, yeah.
I
Are
mean,
you a
are-
once
So it's all
returner?
going to work out.
Are you Sotapana? You think you're Sotapana?
So am I going to what?
Let me not ask that question. Sotapana.
I don't know if we're supposed to ask each other
We're
these
not
questions.
supposed to ask each other these
I
questions.
don't even know the definition.
So
Sotapana is
obviously
once-
he ain't. Not
Sotapana is once returner. Like you only have
no. Sotapana is stream enterer.
stream enter.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, yeah,
Stream
yeah.
enterer.
Stream
Yeah, yeah,
enterer.
yeah. So you're on your way to enlightenment.
So
I'm not familiar
supposedly,
with that.
when you're a stream enterer, then you're guaranteed to have 7 more rebirth or less.
Oh, yeah.
That kind of thing.
I ignore
Yeah.
that stuff.
yeah, but there's
But
I mean, you don't-
what are the
You
other
don't
ones?
need to
There's-
know about it
No.
because
There's
yeah.
Sotapana. There's
There is once returner.
once returner. That's Sotapana.
No,
I thought-
Sotapana is stream
Stream
enterer.
enterer.
I mean, we can look it up real quick just to make
Yeah,
sure
yeah,
because
yeah.
we're telling people the wrong thing. You know?
Yeah, I mean, it's not that it matters.
We obviously don't know.
I'm not going to talk anything about dogma or
the Dhamma theory.
yeah.
So this is not theory though.
I know nothing.
Yeah,
Just so you know, it's not theory actually.
No, it's fact.
It's fact. If you read all the
Based
suttas,
on-
it's in there.
Well, there you go.
Yeah, yeah.
Then it's theory. The
I
sutras-
mean,
definition
you
of
just gotta
theory.
experience it before you know if
There you
it's
go.
fact,
Now
right?
we're back.
So
Yeah.
everything is theory then. If with
It's
if
all
when you
exactly.
say it.
It's
yeah.
all theory. That's how.
That's you're enlightened if you've experienced it, and then you know.
I know it's on Wikipedia. Give me a second.
Everything's
on
on
Wikipedia.
Wikipedia.
I saw it before.
Is it right next to Wabi Sabi?
Wabi Sabi.
Wabi Sabi.
Here we
The
go.
things look good.
That's
Yeah.
what I put on my sushi.
Sotapana.
Sotapana.
Well, this is Sotapana. Where's the other one? I want to see all the attainments.
I can't
The
read that.
attainments. Yeah, I can't read it either. Oh, here it goes. Once returner is Sakadagami Min. Non-returner is Anagamin. And sainthood is Arahat.
They actually have a term sainthood
Anagami.
in what? In Buddhism.
No,
In ours is
Arahat.
Arahat is Arahat.
When you're enlightened, you're
We have
considered a
one
saint.
now. All right.
Yeah, yeah. It's considered.
But the
a saint.
first step is stream entry. Stream entrant.
yeah,
Which is Sotapana. You want to forward this?
So
to me?
No, I
basically,
do
basically,
not.
it means that you like. It basically means like you.
Well, you're 5 years old and you went at it, so maybe you do need to.
Yeah.
Or maybe I just experienced it and I
Yeah.
don't need.
He's on like the 3 of the 7 returns. He's like, man, I'm not supposed to be here.
Like, it was clear to me when I was 5.
Yeah,
I
thought
was
it
like,
was
"Oh,
out."
man.
I got a feeling if you're in this stage, you don't drink coffee anymore.
Hey, man.
I'm just
Well,
joking.
I
I'm
guess
just
I'm not
joking.
Or maybe
Yeah.
this is the way out. Yeah,
Maybe.
Maybe.
That
I gotta
coffee.
raise my vibration.
I wonder. I don't think Buddha had coffee back then. I mean, I'm just
What if he had
curious.
stimulant? He probably
I
didn't
mean,
do
they had green
stimulant.
tea or
I mean, he
something.
was down to 1 grain of rice a day.
Yeah. Oh, he must have been.
I mean,
he must have been geeked up.
Maybe he injected a little crystal, but
Oh, man.
I mean, he wasn't moving much. I'm sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
1 grain of rice.
Again, stories are stories. We don't know how much of it is.
story.
He could have been eating some grass or other stuff on the side. You know, like who knows?
maybe there's
doesn't
maybe
matter.
eating 1 grain of rice. Maybe you drink like a gallon of milk. You know,
You have to
Yeah.
drink something.
You know.
That's why I just stick to
you
the
gotta stay
technique.
hydrated.
Man.
Yeah, all this speculation.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a good thing. Goenkaji also says stories of stories. Like, just reminding you. Like,
Yeah.
even what
Story
we're
is
saying,
story.
right? What
Yeah.
we're telling y'all,
Yeah.
it's just a story.
Stories are
So don't
stories.
take it too serious, you know?
And they're contradictory.
Right.
Just practice. Meditate,
yeah.
meditate,
Yeah, yeah.
meditate.
Don't mind the sacrilege. We're just
Yeah.
we're just talking.
I have a question about the theory. Meditate, meditate, meditate.
That's it.
Meditate correctly. Meditate
Yeah.
correctly.
Yeah, yeah.
Ask a teacher if you're unsure about what you're doing.
Yeah.
That's always a
Oh yeah.
yeah.
That's my get out of jail card. I just take everything over to the teacher. What about this? I've been talking about this. Should I
Yeah.
talk about this?
Yeah.
Actually, I got an interesting one. I guess before we close, I want to
Go
keep
ahead.
going, but
Yeah.
I had asked an AT before because I was taking meditation notes, like
Oh yeah, yeah.
like before now, like
You told me
when I
this story.
meditate at this time and I take a nap first, I seem to meditate. Let's
You
say
were
deeper.
writing it down.
Yeah, like
Oh,
after,
okay.
like just a meditation journal.
Yeah, yeah.
That's
But
another
then
one.
the AT was like, it's not a good idea. I don't recommend it because in the long run, it's not going to help you.
Mm-hmm.
And once he told me that, and I was meditating more, I understood because
Mm-hmm.
and this is what I understood. I don't know what he meant, but everything's changing in your meditation. Like
Yeah.
even if you think it helps you, maybe it does, but maybe in a month it doesn't help you anymore. Maybe, but
Exactly. That's
Yeah,
the whole
yeah.
point. You have all these techniques
right.
to use that point you towards the goal, but once you reach the goal, you don't need any of that.
I write down my meditation dreams though. Those are always
Do you?
fun. Yeah, I got some crazy ones.
So while you're sitting, you're fantasizing, and
No,
then
no,
you
no,
write that down.
afterwards,
Like afterwards, I'll go back and I'll write down the different dreams. Or
But after the
impressions I had.
course is over,
Yes. Yes, after the course is over, I'll go back and write down.
I can't remember. I
got
get
some crazy
so
ones.
creative. I just start downloading,
Dude,
entire plays and stand-up comedy routines and all that.
Yeah, I remember
And I'm
when you.
so tempted to write
that
it down.
sounds like such a
Because I can't-
distraction.
I can't remember it
Yeah.
after, but that's the creative space I would like to live in.
Yeah.
It's
That's
very
the
frustrating.
desire.
I remember
But
when
this
you
is the
came out of the-
desires.
It's just a desire,
Yeah.
but okay. So you go back to monk and householder.
Yeah.
As a householder, I would like to live in that creative space
of
that
a
I'm
monk.
in when I'm pretending to be a monk.
So you do that when you get out of
But
meditation.
No,
it's not
man,
the
no,
same,
listen.
brother.
That
You
20
lose it.
day,
I
when you
lose
came
it.
out of that 20 day,
Yes, he
you were
knows.
hilarious. Like
He
he was
knows.
just like rolling, bro. Like everything he said was just money.
I was still in the zone,
Yeah, that was.
and that's where I'd like to live. My
Yeah.
life would have been totally different if I lived in that space.
Yeah,
But
it was
again, to
money
me,
after
when I hear all this, not to downplay anything, but
Yeah.
it's still a desire, right? And
Yeah, it's a desire,
yeah.
but is it a craving? And
that. But it's a craving.
it depends how you react, how you
Well,
feel
I think
about it. Yeah.
Craving is gonna keep coming. Like
I could live in that zone and not be attached to it.
Yeah, yeah.
It's just
If
a
you're not
preference.
attached to it,
I would
then yeah.
rather live my life as a householder in that space that I'm in when I'm pretending to be a monk, when I'm meditating, when I'm really in the zone.
So that's the thing that I've been struggling with now too. Like having like left the kind of monk life and
Yeah.
gone into the householder life. It's
Yeah.
like, do you? So there's no I, right? There's no I, no me, no mine, no we. We're just like,
Yeah.
there's no I, right? Technically speaking. So if there's no I, then I can be anything, right?
Yeah.
You can add your habit patterns. You can create what you can build yourself into whatever you want.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm trying to live right now. Stripping away the eyes and back to your neural.
Yeah. That's a really interesting concept because look at what's happening all over the planet.
Yeah.
Just turn on YouTube and like what gymnasts are doing, what extreme athletes are doing. We're just off the charts.
Yeah.
And you look at like 14-year-old girls that are singing blues better than
Yeah.
it's incredible. I mean, you can go through 10, 15 videos of 15-year-old girls in their bedroom playing better than Hendrix. It's like,
Yeah.
all this stuff is happening. We can be anything. That's one of the things that we're seeing.
Yeah. No I.
You can also be enlightened.
And you can also be amazing.
Yeah, but who wants to be
But-
enlightened though?
Well, it's an interesting question. You know, I mean, we have to choose
I've heard
that
this
goal.
many times actually.
For a lot of people, being enlightened seems really boring.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
you really do have to get over that
Yeah.
in order to become enlightened.
It's almost like, oh, why would I be enlightened? Like, I mean, exactly. I hear this.
Yeah.
Like when I propose this idea of, oh, what if you could be enlightened? Let's
Yeah.
say tomorrow if you wanted to. They're like, oh, why would I want to do that?
Because you could sit in your closet and not talk to anybody.
You could just be do nothing and be happy. Like doing nothing and being happy is crazy for most people.
Yeah.
Like, literally.
Exactly.
They don't see the parallel.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's actually wild. Like it's not. Yeah, it's.
Which gets back to life is misery. Why do you want to be enlightened? Because I don't want to be misery.
You want to have
But
fun.
but also comes back to why do we exist? If we're gonna crave to
I
exist,
thought we just said there's no why.
no,
No, we don't know.
know.
Nobody
There is
knows
no
why. There
But
isn't a
that's what I'm
person
saying.
on the planet who knows why.
Because we're in the present. That's why there's no why.
Why would
Oh,
somebody?
that defines. Oh, why didn't I think of that? We're in the present. That explains everything.
If you're in the present, there's no why. Because the
But-
why
but-
is only the future or the past, right? The present, there's no why. Let me think about this one.
Hold
on.
That just blew my
Is
mind.
there a
Back to your
why?
closet. Get in the closet.
Okay.
He blew his own mind there.
I'll meditate later and see what happens.
Yeah.
But okay, for a second on that why though. Okay, so someone says I don't want to be enlightened because I want to live. So why is
I don't want to be a monk because I want to be a householder.
Yeah,
Look at it that way too.
that way too. So why is enlightenment the other like it just I got upset that day. I'm just gonna say why. It's such a crazy question.
I mean, the Four Noble Truth.
Yeah, but you don't have to be a
explains
Buddhist or a meditator to come to that. I mean, that's a universal question that goes back
Sure, sure.
throughout recorded history.
Yeah, the
why.
why.
I mean, this happened to when he's 5. So
yeah.
That's ancient
Yeah,
history.
No, not that long ago. Class of.
I mean, that's not his cup.
That's
but
not
yeah.
his cup. Okay. All right. Well, what do you think, guys?
I think we're good.
Got anything else for the people today?
Has this been an hour?
It's been more than an hour.
Probably,
It feels like more than
Like an hour and a half, I think.
Hour and a half. Well, that's a good little.
Yeah.
You gonna run the whole
We could
thing?
cut it into 2 episodes if we wanted to.
That'd be fun. If we,
Oh, yeah?
You think we can edit those videos in, make it cleaner?
Yeah, we
Instead
totally
of all that
can.
fumbling around?
Totally can.
That'd be fun.
Shouldn't be that difficult. But yeah, thank you guys for coming to another episode of the Servers Table podcast. These are the main 3 right here. You got myself, Lloyd. You got Trump, and
Who am I again?
Brother Barry.
5-year-old Barry in the
5-year-old
house.
Barry.
Exactly.
Young B.
Young Bean?
Young B.
Ooh,
B
I
with
like
the-
that. Young B.
Young B.
I'll take that.
That's your rapper name?
Yeah, man. Young B.
Young B. All right, cool.
So next episode,
Next episode,
Dukkha.
Dukkha. Okay.
Misery.
Yeah,
Wanna
misery.
talk about misery?
Let's
We
talk
talk about misery?
Unsatisfactoriness, whatever you want to call it,
The unsatisfactory nature of existence.
of sensation.
Sensation. I like suffering. I think the word suffering.
We can get really pessimistic and then try and bring it back to optimistic.
Oh, I'll do the
Right?
optimistic part then.
No, I think this. I think the pessimism is optimistic in its very nature.
But he does
Oh,
that
right,
during
right,
the
right.
chorus. He goes,
It's
"Oh,
true.
pessimist, pessimist, pessimist. Oh, optimist, optimist, optimist."
yeah, you gotta know it's
We
terrible.
could take that
Right?
ride.
Yeah. Oh, let's do it, man. That's
I'd
my-
like to talk about the subtle part of unsatisfactory.
Of misery?
Of misery, yeah.
Oh, like
Pleasant,
the-
unpleasant.
No, the subtleness of it.
Yeah, the
Subtle
constant,
misery?
thorough.
Subtle, yeah.
Give you a little pinch.
I mean, barely. Not even a
Yeah.
pinch. It's just me sitting here. I feel it.
Unpleasant.
No, it's true though. Like
No,
as-
you get that background sensation that's
Yeah,
unpleasant.
yeah,
Like me sitting a little tilted right now.
Yeah.
yeah. Or like when you're at work and you're behind your desk and you're still listening to your music, having a good time, but you still just hating life.
There you go.
That's subtle.
There you go.
It's very subtle.
It's that
One way to-
background.
yeah.
It's all those neurons that are firing this. Like, this sucks. Life sucks. Life,
Right.
since you were born, life sucks.
Constant, thorough understanding. All right, guys. Thank you once again. Peace. See you next time. We out.
It's been good.
Yeah. Drink your coffee.
I had too much coffee. I felt it.
Yes. That was about an hour.
Suppose
That was about
really
yeah,
fully an
that
hour.
was about an hour.
Oh, well, I felt long.
It felt like an hour and a half, like literally.
Yeah, you